This is my house, and I'll do it if I want to.
It's not your house.
This is my studio for the next hour. Howdy, and welcome to Voyagers Path, Season 2, Episode 6. I'm your host, Tony Drake. With me, I have Ahmed,
Hi.
and a special guest, my mother, Danielle Lozano. Hi, Mom.
Hi. Thanks for having me on.
Quick thing, we are part of the JPK Broadcasting Network. You can find that on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook Live, I even believe, and they have their website. You can also find this podcast on the JPK YouTube channel and our own YouTube channel at Voyagers Path Podcast. And per my dad's request, I have to say this, let it be known, I try my best to speak English, but oftentimes, on the spot, I fail miserably. I repeatedly have the habit of putting my foot in my mouth. I often know the word, but in a fleeting moment, I do not, and I forget it.
Is that the times where you're like,
I'm
what's
like,
the word where you like,
exactly.
and then never think of a word?
And
Yeah.
everyone, for some reason, everyone and their mother wanted to jump down my throat about last episode about like the 6 or 7 words I forgot.
Yeah.
So just to be clear, those words were a hearse, which is what carries a casket, the procession, which is what the cars when they follow behind, the pavilion, which is that little see, there we go. The pavilion.
Thingamajig.
Yeah, the
Thingamajig.
thingamajig. And then when 39 minutes into it, I was looking for the word adjustment. So
Half of those words I would have not helped you with.
now that we got that out of the way,
Uh-huh.
we have my mom here for a particularly special occasion.
Mm-hmm.
We are going to be continuing our talk about family. I think we ended last episode introducing that idea, and here she is going to make it happen.
Woohoo.
Woohoo! The kind of question, the underlying theme about this episode, as I had mentioned to you earlier, or Ahmed, I'm not sure if I told you, kind of the question actually is, are relationships salvageable? And in our case, that answer is yes. And I want to expound a little bit on that before we get into the meats and potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
So if you allow me just a couple minutes to read what I have typed out, I would be much pleased. Are relationships salvageable? Yes, if both parties are willing to develop and evolve. Relationships are evolutionary. If you have a relationship strung out along a timeline and you pinpoint location A, which is 5 years into the relationship, and then pinpoint location B, which is 20 years into the relationship, you find 2 totally different individuals, creating a totally different relationship than what it was at the very beginning. Now, that isn't to say every single relationship is salvageable, because not everybody is always going to want to change and develop. For example, my biological father, I don't believe there will ever be a time, nor that I want there to be so much time that we mend together and get together and stuff of that nature. But know that exceptions exist, much like Michael. But for most people, disputes among friends and family are usually as bad as it gets, and that is typically what the normal person will come across with family dispute. So to start, when I was talking to Calvin about this episode, I told him that I wanted it to be based around my shortfalls and failures as a son to both him and my mother. And he looked at me and he said I was crazy. Which soon after I realized, as he always is, he was correct. That I came to the conclusion that I could not have possibly failed at something I didn't know how to do. And I know that sounds a little off, but allow me to elaborate here soon. It's similar to beating a dog when failing to sit when it does not know the command. So with some further thought, I made the connection between authority figures and the responsibility they bear. In this case, parents are accountable for the development and actions of their children until that child reaches a certain age. And there is a transitional period where we gradually become more accountable for ourselves. And that process may start at different ages for each individual, but nonetheless, we become responsible for our actions and behavior just as our parents are. In my case, during that transitional period, I grew a distaste for any authority figure and felt as if they were all beneath me in a sense, and I knew more than they did. Finally, near the end of that transitional period, I moved in with my biological father, who surrendered all authority of my life over to me, and during that time I became a kid who did what he wanted, as he wanted, when he wanted, and however he wanted to do it. That time period was one of ignorance, to put it nicely. As I began to learn the consequences of my actions and the responsibility I had in life, I attempted to correct myself. In doing so, I rekindled a relationship with my mother. Our relationship went from being a mama's boy prior to the divorce to cursing her name during the divorce and feeling like I was being thrashed around between two forces. And during that time, I was swallowing this rage towards people around me and completely severed ties with her eventually. There was essentially 3 years of silence between us until she was called to the hospital for an incident that I completely faked, which we will get into at one point. Mm-hmm. After that incident, there was another block of silence for nearly a year until I called her demanding that she let us go to California with my biological dad, mm-hmm. which was also stemmed from misinformation, miscommunication, and manipulation. After the move to California was a total failure, I returned to Texas and took the opportunity to reconnect with her, thanks to Calvin and his patience and wisdom. Since then, I, and on occasion Calvin, have gotten together with her and my stepfather for dinners, movies, and the like. Eventually, she hosted my 20th birthday with her, or she hosted my 20th birthday with my friends, and now she's here in front of me after all of that. So that was my little spiel.
Nice.
So,
mind if I add a couple of things?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay.
Shoot.
I didn't really know when to say it because it seemed like you were on a roll and you don't exactly.
As I was.
Yeah.
As I was.
But we could definitely bring up the whole. I remember. Can relationships be repaired or something like that with romance? Same thing. But we can bring that up back in, when we go into romance, because that's another whole ordeal with exes. But this episode, we're probably just going to focus on, family members and their relationships and stuff like that.
What makes us say that? Is it because the episode is called Family?
Yeah, just maybe.
Maybe. Okay. Anything else you'd like to pick apart on that?
Not at the moment, no.
Or add to?
No, I'm good. Cool. Thank you.
Mom, did you have anything you wanted to say? And I don't mean to do you any what's the word? Disjustice a word? That's not a word.
Disjustice?
That's not a word. Disgrace, maybe?
Injustice?
No, injustice? No, anyway, I don't mean to taint your, what was it? I'm losing already.
Image?
Yeah.
Taint the image before we get to talk about you and who you are as an individual. And I just wanted to say that a lot of the stuff that growing up was kind of manipulation on my biological father's side. So there's a lot of things that stemmed from that misinformation, and that caused a lot of distaste towards her. But she is a lovely individual who's grown quite a bit. Mm-hmm. Quite a bit.
I might.
You might have. All right.
But I do want to add, I know that you call the word salvageable, and that's a good word because, you take something that's definitely broken. I think, though, for me, in my perspective, the way I look at it is more of repairing and rebuilding. Mm-hmm. They all are interchangeable in that sense, but for me, it just seems like that there's still something that we're doing every day to build that, whereas salvageable means, well, it could have something and it couldn't maybe have something, but I choosing to look at it as we're repairing or rebuilding because there is more to come in our relationship. Yeah. So we're doing it again and we're making it better. Yeah, and
when I was thinking about that, it was the reason the word salvage stuck, like salvaging stuck, because me in 7th grade is not the me now, and you whenever I was in 7th grade is not the same you. And I don't think that there would be any way for me in 7th grade without having that evolutionary thought
Right.
process and the development would have come to any conclusion of even being within 5 feet of you and all that.
Mhm. It's a very appropriate word. It's
Yeah,
just
but
that I wanted to
I
add
get,
my word
yeah,
on top of that.
Yeah, I get that. And that's awesome.
If I'm going to be honest, I kind of like her better.
Yeah, that's
Because
fair.
when you say, oh, I'm going to
That's fair.
salvage that versus, oh, I'm going to repair that.
I guess salvage sounds a little too intense, maybe, or just
It's not a negative word. It just has a negative connotation.
Yeah.
I think
Right.
it comes off, you think of a clunky car that you're going
Right.
to salvage or something.
Okay.
Whereas there's not necessarily any beauty from salvaging something, but when you're repairing and rebuilding, there's something beautiful that can come out of that.
okay. That's fair. That's fair.
But that's my perspective, and that's from this side of the table. Whereas,
Yeah, she's gonna school us really hard because
School you. I
School.
agreed with her.
Before we, I also have a few bullet points. Yeah, questions also for you. But before we dig into that, would you mind telling the audience and also Ahmed, because he also
Yeah.
has no idea. I haven't told him anything about you. Just a little smidgen about yourself, upbringing, career path, our life, things like that. And then we'll dig into more of whenever I came along and that such.
the important parts.
The important part.
Okay.
The cool parts.
I was born a long, long time ago. Well, I was born in Delaware, moved down here with my mom and my dad when I was just a baby, and then my dad passed away. So my mom pretty much raised me and my brother all by herself. And even though I had stepfathers and that were in the picture, I was never close to them. And then my brother, he has a lot of issues with both mental and physical. And so I don't have much of a connection with him. And I know it's a little off topic, and I'm sorry.
You're good. Yeah, you're good.
But there's every year I've adopted a word for the past, 3 years, I think. Instead of starting a New Year's resolution, I pick a word to live my life by for that year.
Interesting.
So, and it's a book, and it's a whole great thing. So last year, and I won't tell you what my word is this year, but last year, and I worked on connections. And so connections for me, I think, are really, really hard in the sense that I go inward because I've always had to go inward. I was abused as a child. I lost a father figure. I didn't have the bond with my mom. So, connections was always something that was difficult. And I see that even in my relationships with you and with kids. Raising kids, it was like, okay, well, as a parent, I have to do this. And so that's what I always did. I did what I was supposed to do, but building those connections and realizing, I need to be enjoying the moment with my kids instead of making sure that this is happening and this is happening. So I grew up very sheltered. I went to a private Christian school. Not that I was in any way entitled or rich or anything. I earned the scholarship, but I was not exposed to life. So when I met Michael, that was the first guy I was ever around.
You met at the hotel, right?
I worked at a hotel.
You were living off of Milky Way, Snickers, and Mountain Dew, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
2 hours of sleep.
Yeah, but it was fun. I mean, I enjoyed working at the hotel, but he was the first guy that ever was around me. So, it was like, oh, well, I went to, my church was like, oh, you're going to be a friend with the person that you marry first. And so he was my friend. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's get married. So, hindsight, of course, is always 2020. You realize, oh, okay, well, you don't just marry somebody because you're a friend. That doesn't necessarily make for a great relationship. But yeah, I got 3 beautiful kids out of it, and it was an experience. It was an experience that I learned a lot from, and I learned how to be better from it. You have to choose to grow.
Right.
But that's where it is right now. Am I allowed to say the district that I work in?
Well, why wouldn't you?
I don't know. I don't know what rules are. I don't know.
I don't think there are any rules against telling what district.
I have no idea. So I started in a couple of different districts, and now I'm in Dallas ISD. I'm an instructional specialist. And so really basically I help teachers improve their craft pretty much.
Cool.
I've always worked with kids. Even when I was a kid, I have a heart for kids. I do. they're innocent. And even though they grow up and make really bad decisions, you know, and I love crime stories. And so I love learning about the behavior of people and what brought them to it. And, and you know, you see how that drives them there is, you know, what happened in their childhood. And so that's a big driving force. So, and I didn't do a very good job with my own kids, but it really, when I work with kids, when I'm around kids, sometimes even with their own teachers, I'm the one that's there giving them, hey, how's your day? You know, because teachers, they've got that list of things that they got to get done, and they forget sometimes about that emotional piece. And so that is my driving force right now is, you know, even though I'm here helping the teachers, I'm there really for the students and making the things that they're going through a little bit better and you know, that they can grow and learn. But I love what I do. I love the district that I'm in. And I just want to keep growing in that, what I'm doing. So.
Right. That's awesome.
Was there anything else I needed to add?
No,
Did I take too long?
That covers it. No, you're
Just
good.
next time, just do that cut. Taking too long.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Mom, for sharing that.
And of course now, because I know that my husband, I know that my husband will be listening to this. I married a wonderful man.
Yeah.
Can't forget him.
Yeah.
He was, I never wanted to get married again, ever.
Yeah.
Completely.
Understandable.
Yeah, completely. I was like, I'm never getting married again. This is, you know, I'm perfectly happy living all by myself. But, you know, God has a way of just saying, yeah, no, I don't think so. It's not going to happen your way. It's going to happen this way. And even though Marco and I are very different in pretty much every single possible way, from the fact that he's a flat earther, I'm not a flat earther.
Yeah.
You know, just
that's an interesting conversation piece.
It is. But we still grow and learn with each other, and so that just makes it even better. So I am so proud of who he is. I'm so proud of who you've become. I love that Calvin has really helped mold you into the man that you are, and I love that. So, you know, right now I feel that this is every year, every day, every moment is just getting better and better. So,
yeah, I just bouncing off that. Marco is an extremely awesome man. Like, I wish I had him growing up. That would have been, I think life would have been a lot different. Marco, when you're listening to this, you're the man. All right.
He would have definitely made a great dad.
Yeah. He's doing great, man. All right. Well, let's dig into this. Awesome. Thank you again for sharing. So, when going through the process of divorce, which I know it's a grueling process and it's not easy on any party, especially the kids, how did you expect it to influence your relationships with me and my siblings, or my siblings and I, whatever the proper verbiage is?
How did I expect it to influence you? I honestly was hoping that y'all would have been resilient and kind of like, not that it wouldn't impact you. I knew that it would. Divorce is a horrible thing, and that's why it's always to be very wise and being willing to work really hard in the relationships, you know, just because it does affect the kids. But I really didn't think it would impact y'all as hard as it did.
Yeah.
But I mean, and that's my fault. I really didn't think it would have that kind of impact. I knew it would be hard, but I just didn't think it would be that hard for you.
Yeah, and the factor that I think makes it, we had this factor that others, well, I'm sure other examples are out there with other couples, but Michael was not his temperament, his tactics were effective to make sure that we thought ill of you. And I'm not sure, were you aware of that? Were you aware that he was?
At first I wasn't.
Okay.
And then it came to light later on.
How'd you find out? Was it
I think
from
it was
one of
Allie.
us?
Yeah, I think Allie. I think she had said something. There were just a lot of things that I was just so surprised. I was like, I mean, it was just very hurtful. And I know that divorce, again, is hard on everybody, but it just wasn't expected that he would go that route. I just thought, okay, you know, we're going to be adults.
Yeah, and he played the Christian, he played the born again Christian card pretty pretty well.
Yeah.
I know he did, and that's, I mean, when people play that part and they play it well, you can get away with a lot of things, especially when you're a young kid and you believe it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Well, and the thing is, I thought we would be adults, and I never said anything negative about him, because kids, when you say something negative to your kid about their other parent, they're like, well, that's part of me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could be like that, you know. So if you don't like this, then maybe you don't like him, then maybe you don't like me, you know. And I never wanted my kids to feel that way. So, you know, I was like, you know, I wasn't saying anything negative. I was trying to, okay, you know, just trying to make the best of the situation, and it just completely derailed.
Now, to give a little idea as to what it was like. So my mom was teaching in Wiley at the time. What year was the divorce? Do you remember? At least what grade? Was I in 5th grade or 6th grade? I can't recall.
I think you were in 5th grade.
Okay, yeah. And so we went to school in Wiley. We lived in Carlin. It was like, what, a 30-minute drive to get there, maybe? Early morning. And so we'd wake up super early. She needed to get there, and then we'd get to her school, which was in walking distance from my school. But was Michael ever, did he ever factor in to the changes in your life? Did you have to really, after the divorce, after he was out of the picture, did you have to change everything you were doing as a single mom and what's the word? Providing for 3 kids? Was he ever?
It didn't, because I was already the breadwinner.
Okay.
And
oh, yeah. I forgot.
So I was doing everything for you guys. He worked a part-time job.
Hawaiian Falls Security and a bus driver, too. Yeah.
So I was already the breadwinner.
Right.
I was doing everything for you guys already. He didn't do anything, didn't clean, didn't cook, didn't do anything.
A lot of yelling and...
So, you know, so no, it really wasn't any different. And just to state this fact that I also remembered that during the divorce, he was stealing money out of the accounts to cover...
Right.
To, you know, for his alimony, I guess is what he thought. But and I didn't know. So it took a while for me to figure out where all this money was going. So no, I was the breadwinner. And so in that sense, it didn't make any changes.
Power to the woman. All right. Did you notice any changes in my siblings and I after the divorce? And if so, what did you see?
Well, for you went more inward.
Right.
And you got more angry. You were always such a happy boy. Always you woke up and you were always in a good mood. I just loved going into your room and you would just be smiling. So during that time, you went inward, and I couldn't reach you, and we'd always been so close, and so that was hard. With Nick was all about his dad already, and he was young and very impressionable, and so that, I mean, the change was just that I was always wrong, but that wasn't new.
Yeah.
And then with Allie, you know, she was a teenager, and teen girls are confusing all on their own. Not having to deal, you know, with the divorce already, that but she acted out as well, and that just surprised. I guess I just wasn't prepared for the teen years for y'all, and how to help you through the divorce. And, you know, looking back, I would, you know, tried to see more how I could help y'all through that. But I just was like, oh, okay, well, you know, they'll get through it, and, you know, things will get better. And I kept thinking, things are going to get better. It's going to get better. And then it just never did. So it was.
Yeah, I remember definitely the inward aspect personally, the being closed off from anyone and everyone. And now, of course, you know, I had friends at school, but we were also not, as whenever I was in 5th grade, 6th grade and upwards, the iPhone still, I mean, it was out. It was still, it's not what we got today. But even then I had like a slide phone. And so I wasn't up, always in contact with people, and then living as far away as it did and not having the same contact as friends was definitely added on to the isolation And I don't ever remember talking to anyone about it, and I don't think I would have known how to have discussed that with anybody either. But I know I definitely went. I know we had church. We went to church on occasion, right? We were.
No, we went every Sunday.
We did. Oh, oops. We did. Well, that was Crossroads at the time, right out in Rowlett or something like that.
After the divorce, we stopped going there.
Okay.
Because Michael had gotten a hold of them, and they had really, even though they'd all been, not all, but several of the families had already had their own divorces and remarried and everything. They just were very, they just weren't very positive with me because Michael had told them all these things. So I mean, you can't blame them. If you're going to listen to him, then I'm not going to try and dispute it. But we went. We were regulars every Sunday.
The divorce just really burned a lot of bridges, whether intentional or not. Then
it definitely did. So I guess I just had gotten to a place in my life where it's like I don't have to surround myself with you people.
So with all those bridges burning, what did you do? I mean, at the perspective that I had as a kid, I don't really remember what you were doing. Did you just not do anything?
No, as far as who I surrounded myself, I had some really strong friends who helped me through it, and some not a lot of friends, just a small handful with Nikki and Gina and Kathy. And they really just helped me be strong as far as just how am I going to handle, emotionally, so I had them to rely on. And I guess I just was always, I don't need to surround myself intentionally with people who don't want to be around me or don't like me or don't have, I don't have to choose to be with you. So I can go somewhere else. That's up to y'all, how y'all want to see it. I guess that was how I looked at it. And then, I had to find a hobby, so I took up dancing.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I love it. Country dancing, and I hate country music, but,
I see. Yeah. Okay.
So, but I loved it. And, but that was how I guess I de-stressed. People have video games, and I was never coordinated enough, but I was coordinated enough to dance. But
what you
not
call dancing.
Well, it's country dancing, so it's
Super
it's
simple.
partner.
Yeah.
It's partner dancing, so it's not like just people, because that just wasn't interesting to me. I didn't want to just stand on the floor, because I don't have that kind of rhythm. I'm too white for that. I just don't have that kind of rhythm.
So, kids listening at home, if you watched the previous episodes, she went ahead and divided her time, energy, and attention up away from those negative Nancys. So don't forget that key component.
Yeah.
All right.
That was kind of like a huge thing we established earlier in a couple episodes. To build relationships, you add time, energy, and attention. So it's like
I think you've told me that before. Yeah.
I think we maybe. Who knows?
No, I'm telling you.
Oh, you're telling me.
I'm telling you.
Okay, you're
You've
confirming.
told me that before. I'm confirming that with you.
How'd you feel about Nick and I wanting to move out and move in with Michael?
I was heartbroken,
Right.
and I was shocked. I really was.
You told me that I was the one who instigated that whole thing. Yeah.
And we were I think we were getting clothes for the summer. We were out shopping, and you were in your introverted side. And actually, I think it was Nick or Allie who said that you wanted to move in with your dad.
They called me out.
Or with Michael. Yeah. They had told me, and I was like, what? What are you talking about? And so you were like, yeah. And then you just said, yeah. And you didn't want to make it a big thing. I could tell that I was getting emotional, and you were like, oh, God, Mom. You were just, you didn't want to deal with my emotions of that. So, in my mind, I was like, okay, well, he's a teenager now, and teens need their dad. And I determined that I was not going to be that mom that was, it always breaks my heart when moms keep their kids from their dads when they get a divorce, and they won't let them have them on the weekends. They say negative things, or vice versa, men saying negative things about their wives. But I was like, I'm not going to be that. I don't want to keep them from their dad. That's their dad. So when, I was like, well, he's a teenager, and he needs to be around a male figure. And so I thought I was doing the right thing, but when I would text you or call you, you just didn't want to give me the time of day. And then it just, even though I would text call, it was completely ignore, and then negative thing, it just went all downhill. So, that was, if I could redo it, that would be something that I would change, but I don't know if it would go any better, because then maybe you would resent me for not letting you do it. So,
and I wouldn't have ended up in the situation that I did. That makes sense. Yeah. I'm not sure if I don't think I would have changed anything either, honestly, because changing anything might not, if it means I might not end up where I'm at now, then I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
I'm glad where I'm at. I'm happy where I'm at.
All the things that have happened to you are, what's made you who you are now. So,
if I may add,
you may not.
So, thank you. But, like, obviously the decisions that you've made and decisions that Tony made, although not all of them were the right ones in the end and made him the man you were, but are there still some decisions or things that you regret not doing or doing while you and your relationship with Tony was still, being difficult?
I think I would have been more insistent that he come over to visits.
We didn't even have that on the table.
I tried to I started for a while to get y'all to come over, but y'all, there was so much pushback, and of course I didn't realize at the time that he was saying all these horrible things. And then I was like, well, forcing them is not going to be good, and they're just going to be mad at me and blah blah. So I think I would have just made inserted myself more in there and just made it evident that I need to spend time with you. I want to spend time with you, and I took it as well, y'all don't want to spend time with me. I don't want to force you. So I don't know. I think I would have definitely done that differently. I'm not sure how I would have done it, but I would have done that differently. I definitely also would have surrounded myself, or maybe in a group, a divorce group maybe, that would have helped me help my kids get through that. Because I didn't do a good job at that. And but that's on me. But of course, I'm still growing. And I think that I have to give myself some grace. I made a lot of errors in life and just in general. And I have to give myself some grace to know that, okay, I made a mistake. But now I have to choose to grow from that. And if I don't choose to grow from that, then I'm just going to stay the same way I am. So I have to continue to change and grow as I'm learning. And I think that sometimes adults don't give themselves grace, and kids don't give themselves grace, and don't give their parents grace, and understanding, like, this is the first time I've gone through this. I don't know how to do it. And I think if I had been honest with that, because sometimes I get really strong, strong-willed, and I can do this. This is no big deal. I can handle all this all on my own, and it's no big deal. But when in doing that, it impacted my kids, because I was like, I can handle this, but I didn't know that my kids weren't able to handle it. I thought, okay, they're strong. They're going to be resilient. They're going to be fine. We're going to get through this together. So that would definitely been something I would have gone back and changed if I could. But again, just to salvage the relationships with my kids, not to
salvage. There you said it.
Yep.
I mean, you can't fix a car with just a hammer. And at that point, I mean, the force is against you. There was I don't think there was anything you could have done differently, because the cards were already stacked against you at that point. And the fact that you picked up your hand and was playing the game, you already sealed the deal and were like, you already lost, basically. And there was as hard as it is to say, there was nothing that I don't think that you could have done differently whenever Michael is feeding us these perspectives and facts and all these manipulation tactics.
Yeah, he was very good at that.
Pretty nice. I learned a couple things. But okay.
Hopefully you forgot him.
Well, I didn't forget him. Make sure no one can do it to me again. Facts. So, what, how do I say that? Nick and I did move out in 8th grade. Allie stuck around, right? So, what was eventually, she left. So what was your understanding as to why Allie decided to move out and kind of begin that severing of ties with you?
Allie had started when I had actually gotten pregnant, and I had miscarried.
What?
Yeah.
Did I know this?
No.
No.
Oh, we weren't talking. We weren't talking.
Damn.
So, I would, and the thing is that, throughout the time I would send, and I still send to Nick and Allie texts, but there's never a response, and I know I'm blocked by them, but I would send you texts also to connect with you and to talk with you and to visit with you, but you never responded either.
God.
So, and either whether you had a different number or you changed it or you blocked me or whatever, but, I was always trying to send a text to say, hey, just reach out. And that was when you were going through a hard time with Michael in California. I was like, hey, I just wanted to let you know I'm here. And that's when you had said, can I move in? Or you were trying to figure out how to get back. But for Allie, I had gotten pregnant and I had miscarried, and she got mad because she's like, you can't even buy me all these things. How can you afford to have a kid? And that really, that was heartbreaking, because here I am mourning a miscarriage, and then now my daughter is like, just trying to process everything. So that just really started this severing there, and she wanted to move out, and then she got really big into all of the I guess the Arabians.
Yeah, Muslim.
Yeah, all the Muslim.
And
Yeah, just everything, which was fine. But that really just, she just wanted to go over here, and I'm over here, and I'm like, okay, well, come over here. And she's like, no, I'm going to keep going over here and here.
Right.
And of course, her dad embraces that more.
Yeah.
So,
For those of you who don't know, he's got some Arabic or Iraq.
He's from, his parents
Middle Eastern
are
heritage.
from, his
That's
dad
what I
is from
got
Iraq, his
in my
grandparents are
genes.
from Lebanon.
Oh yeah, I didn't even know that. Well, I'm sorry about I can't say the smile on my face, but yeah, I'm sorry
It's okay,
about
I get it. We actually had 4 miscarriages, so yeah, it was
That's
a hard
a lot.
time. Yeah, it was hard, but
the hits keep coming.
sorry, I didn't mean to
you're okay.
reveal all of this, but it's a part of life.
Right.
It's a thing of, for me, I felt hardest on Marco.
Yeah.
More than for myself. I had the physical pain of it, but, he's never had kids, so he's never experienced the joy of that. And that's something that I wanted to be able to give him. And that just wasn't something I could do.
Have you thought about adoption?
He doesn't want to adopt.
Wants
And even though
bloodline.
I was like, I was very much into, adopting, but he's like, no, it's okay. We'll be fine. So, that's just how that went. But, as far as for Allie, I think she had ulterior reasons, but that was the excuse that she...
Well, Marco, my heart goes out to you. I love you, brother. And again, that's tragic. And
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah, nothing to say about that.
Yeah, it's just life.
Yeah, just life at that point. Well, to keep on rolling.
Sorry to put it on a sad note there,
You're
guys.
good.
That's
You're
no
good.
problem. We're talking about a lot of serious topics here.
We'll definitely have to have you back on to discuss that part a little.
Well, you said you wanted to know me better.
Yeah, and this is all part of the experience. What would you say? Well, I guess I just want to see what your answer is going to be, but I think I already have an idea. But since we've already been talking about, but the question is, what would you say caused the relationships between you, my siblings, and myself to crumble as they did?
I can put blame on Michael, but I'm going to have to just take ownership on that on my own. I could have done more. I gave the excuse of, well, I don't want to push my kids. I don't want to force my kids. I don't want to make them do something. I don't want them to resent me later, But in the end, that was my choice, and I chose to make that decision. I chose to let you move in with your dad. I chose to let you move to California. Those are. I didn't really. I wasn't. I wasn't really like, oh, okay, yeah, go ahead, yeah. I wasn't happy about the decisions, but I didn't know better, and I didn't think of, I guess, the end results when I was making decisions.
I'm sorry. Every time Ahmed and I are pretty alike. I'm not sure. Every time you're saying, we both say right at the exact same time. We're like, yeah, at the exact same time. So I'm trying,
You're in sync.
yeah, I'm trying to not do that. But every time I let one slip out, he's doing it at the exact same time. I'm like, damn it.
Just shake the heads.
Yeah, just shake the head. But then we're both, if you watch, we're both doing it at the exact same time too.
Right.
We're both listening.
So
It's easy to put blame on other people, but in the end, I just have to take ownership for my own actions. I can't, control what other people are doing.
Right.
Which
is a really important thing, which we've already mentioned again on the early episodes, that taking accountability for everything in your life and all the choices you've made and experiences you've had. It's all at the end of the day on your shoulders, which is very good. This is where I got it from, probably. So
super smart.
Last question for you.
From you, I still have a question.
Okay. Well, last question on my end. How did you feel when Calvin called to meet with you to discuss his plans for adopting me? And I know those plans are still in the works. We're nothing's official yet. But back then, how was it? That first take.
I think it was one of hopeful for you, that it would set you on the right track, and that you are surrounding yourself with someone and putting yourself in a place where it's a positive thing for you. I was nervous just because I get sitting down one-on-one with somebody that you're just getting to know, Calvin.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, what's going on? What's happening? So I get a little bit of anxiety, just naturally putting myself in like here, okay, a little anxious, but once there and in the moment, Calvin was very open and honest, and I felt very, I guess, relieved that you were in good hands. And part of me was sad that you didn't want to come back to me, but I also understood that the pain that you had gone through, you had to deal with it in your way. And I couldn't, I said that before, I didn't want to force you to, to do this, but I didn't want to force you to come back to me either.
I mean, it ties back to what you had said originally. The whole reason why you let us go with Michael the first place as a father figure. I mean, not, obviously I didn't get it with Michael. And so there's you spending 10 minutes with Calvin, you can kind of see the type of man
you can see his heart. Yeah, you can see who he is as a person. So
right there, he's the proper father figure, I think, for any individual. So yeah, sorry, that's
and that's something that I wish that you had earlier in life. That would have probably helped set things on the right path. And if you had an adult as a father figure, then when you were growing up, that this might have turned out very differently.
He said the same thing about you. It's like it's hard to have another. Well, I don't know what he said. Basically, it was like, yeah, she's also a kid.
Yeah, I guess because I was the breadwinner, the moneymaker, the responsible one, running the household, paying
His whole
bills.
thing was that you were always out partying. You were I didn't, unbeknownst to me, you had like 3 jobs during that time, and the reason why you weren't home, he said, oh, she's out partying, and he had pictures of proof, and of course, on every occasion people can go out and relax.
When
and stuff.
the weekends that I didn't have y'all, I would go out.
Yeah, and he was like, oh, this is what she's doing the whole time, and that's why you don't have any food, because she's spending it on her.
Yeah, no. Yeah. I worked 3 jobs, and I was trying to get my master's, which I didn't even finish until just last year, until August, actually. So no.
What a woman.
Yeah.
What a woman.
I would not say that I was a child in any way. I mean, but people are entitled to their own opinions, so can't change others.
All right, Ahmed. What question you got for the lady?
So
make it worth it. Only got one shot.
All right, bud. So I don't know if you've known much about me, because I know communication with you and Tony has been, off and on or non-existent at times, but I've known this guy for a very, very long time.
Many years.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all were in Wiley together, right?
No. What?
No?
Just high school.
Oh, just high school?
8th grade. It was 8th grade.
Yeah.
We met.
That was in Wiley.
No.
Oh, you went to Richardson.
It was after moving with
that's
Michael.
right. Sorry.
8th grade, went to West.
Allie
Junior
was in
High.
8th grade.
Allie was
Sorry.
We met in the we had a science class. It was biology. 8th grade, and then football on the field.
Yeah, and we would hang out occasionally and, get to know each other. And, I was like, oh, this guy's a cool dude. And after, the friendship... After the friendship developed, you need to know more about your friends, including their family life. And, him talking about his mother, it was obvious he was not comfortable with that. I think the most he told me was like, oh, I'm just not talking to her. And I'm like, okay, well, that's no problem. And I didn't want to push it that much because you don't want to push too much on a friend of his for something that they're not comfortable with. But then years later, after a bunch of struggles that he went through, he suddenly brings up, so I'm going to go hang out with my mom. And I'm like, really? Wow, the mom that you've been ignoring for years or avoiding for years. And now I'm learning about all this new stuff that you're repairing the relationship. So I guess my question is, how does it feel knowing now that you're in a better place with your son compared to back then when it was just non-existent? Like he wouldn't even talk to you.
Very good question.
So you're asking how does it feel compared to that?
Yes.
Not good enough, apparently. Not clear.
I just like to be clear on things. Well, I think we had to go through that to make our relationship stronger now. We might not have been, if he hadn't gone through those things and if he hadn't experienced what he experienced, we might not have the relationship that we have now and continue to be able to rebuild that. It may just completely have been broken and stayed broken. So I'm very thankful that, that he was open and that Calvin encouraged him to seek out a relationship and to continue rebuilding that relationship and strengthening it and making it better and allowing me to be a part. I just am thankful every day that I have a son who wants to keep me in his life. Because, even though, kids, as they grow up, sometimes they just don't want to be a part of their family's lives. That's just is how it is. And there are some who are very, very close. I see Marco and his family, and they're just a super tight family.
I know some family members who they shower together.
Okay, I don't know.
And I know it's a little weird, but they're also they're from Mexico. Maybe Marco might.
No, they don't do that.
But that when I heard that, I was like, holy crap! First, I was like, are you crazy? Are you serious? But apparently they're just super tight knit. That it's just a thing they do.
No.
Yeah,
I don't know anybody about that, but his family is very tight, and I envy that, and I envy their closeness and how they rely on each other, and they're talking every day, and they're texting and messaging, and and they are very. They loved me and opened up their arms to me just because Marco loved me. It wasn't because of anything that I did, and I loved that. And I didn't have a big family growing up. It was just basically my mom, me, and my brother. So I've always wanted a larger family, but just a little late in the game, I guess. Yeah. I got in it. I got it very sweet. Yeah,
never too late to start.
But so I'm very thankful that I have Tony, and then I have Calvin there to be with Tony, and that I have Marco. Marco, you probably don't know this, but Marco was always, I would text to you and Allie and to Nick, and I'd just say just simple things. Hey, how are you doing? Whatever. And he goes, just let them know that you're there for them. Doesn't matter. Just let them know that that if they need anything, they can count on you. So he was always the one that I was just saying, hey, how you doing? He's like, no, you need to let them know that no matter what, that you will always love them and that you'll always accept them to come to the house and to be with you. And no matter what, that they don't have to do anything. They don't have to change anything. And he would share his stories. He's got some incredible stories about his family.
Yeah, we'll have to have him on for sure.
Yeah, he has some incredible stories, and I think one of the ones, he was a wild child.
Yeah, I can tell. I can get that.
So
sure.
in Mexico is a whole other world. So he was out partying, drinking. Right. He'd be drunk at 14, 15 years old, going to the clubs, doing whatever. He'd come home stinking drunk. He'd said at 4 a.m, and when most parents would be yelling at him and mad, his mom and dad were, are you okay? Just come home. It's okay. It's okay. And just loving on him and taking care of him. And me, I would be like, man, they're just, I would have never done that. It's like, woo.
So the back of my hand.
Right?
Yeah.
But it really helped me see that, you know what, maybe sometimes that's just what the kids need is they just need to know that no matter what they've done in life, that they'll always have a place to go.
Right.
And so I think that was an important lesson that he's really teaches well.
Okay. Well, that's about the questions that I had put down and all that I have written out. So we're going to go to the ending, the last 10 minutes of our show here. And as of last episode, tradition is suggesting a song. And so go ahead and tell us what song, madam, you will be suggesting the
All right.
kids and the other such people at home.
All the people at home listening. I picked this song. It's an older song. I think it's early 2000s, maybe.
Older songs like 70.
Oh, it's
Yes,
Jack
but
there.
a lot of people probably have never heard this song.
Okay.
And so it's called Beauty in the World by Macy Gray. And I always pick that song because it's very positive, but it talks about just finding the beauty, even when things are going horribly wrong in your life. Just finding something to celebrate, to find beauty, something to dance about, something to smile about in life. So that's why that song really stands out to me.
Okay. And I've never heard the song, so if it sucks, don't come
It does
crawling
not
at me.
suck.
Oh, no, you got her mad.
Yeah.
It does not suck. And if you don't stop, I'm just going to pull it up on my phone right now.
No, just sing along. Okay. Final part as well. Message for the followers, the viewers, people listening, kids, mothers, whoever may it be. Do you have a message to send them home with as well as a song?
I have two.
Too
Never
much.
just pick
I mean,
one.
Never too much.
The first one is there's beauty in the struggle. And, whether you're talking about butterflies or pearls or, that's an uncomfortable feeling, but there's something beautiful that comes out of that discomfort.
Right.
There's something valuable that is happening that you just can't see. So there's beauty in the struggle. But I think the one that's been the most, that's given me the most message. I don't know if that's the right word.
Welcome, join the club, buddy.
The one that stood out to me the most this year, and it applies to every area in my life, is that change is inevitable, growth is optional.
That's a pretty good one. Change is
Inevitable.
Growth is optional. I like that.
So change is going to happen no matter what.
Yeah.
But whether you choose to grow or not, that's up to you.
Okay. Final thing, what's that book? You mentioned a book earlier.
It's
just
called
so anyone
One Word.
wants to know.
It's
Just
called One Word, and I'm sorry, I don't know who wrote it, but
Slacking.
you can always contact
Google.
Tony. Should
You
I
can
give his phone number?
Contact
Tony.
I think
if you can't
Tony
find
at
it.
Right. Tony at VoyagersPath.
Yes, feel free to
.us.
message him if you can't find it, but I believe the book is called One Word. But basically, it is, instead of picking a New Year's resolution, you're picking a word to set your life. And last year, it was connections. And so my goal was to increase my connections with people in my life and people with my work. Now I've restarted, my word is actually reset.
Oh,
So
I see.
So, especially with the new job, what happens every day is you make mistakes. And so, people just say, well, you just keep moving on. And yes, that's true. But sometimes it's okay to just stop and to reset, whether it's you're resetting a relationship or you're resetting your mentality or you're resetting, something to do with work. You can reset, you can stop, and you can reset.
Yeah, recently, I don't know, I fell into a little rut over the last week, and I was, I don't know, maybe it might have been the poor sleep schedule I was on, I would get home I would go to work, get home, sleep, do that twice in a row. So I slept through dinner, slept through everything. Even it happened on Father's Day too, sad to say. So I gave Calvin his gift and the note card after work, and then we just kind of went to bed, and he went bowling by himself.
Oh, no.
That's horrible.
So when I did that, I would wake up in between those sleeps, and I was like, well, you're POS, you suck. And it was true. And every time I was like, well, there's even, as I was sleeping and wasting my time, I was like, well, great, I could have been doing this with my time, and instead I'm sleeping. And every time I was like, well, this is added onto the list, this is added onto the list, this is added onto the list. And I was like, damn, I suck. And I was beating myself up pretty hard. But then,
You should.
as I should, as one should.
Right.
But just like you said, I was like, well, no time like the present for a reset. So I went ahead and got up, and on the next day started cleaning up around the house. Woke up early, fed the dogs. I think probably not. I just started back on track basically. But yeah, I
Just reset.
reset. It's true.
So that is my word for this year, and I've had to use it quite a bit already.
Yeah. Nice. Well, thank you, Mom.
You're welcome.
Is there, Ahmed? I'm gonna kind of wrap up here, but is there anything you wanted to say, spit out before?
Just I guess
take
a
the
small
reign.
thing. So obviously this episode, this is more to the viewers, but obviously this episode is meant for family, and the main message was, can a relationship be repaired? But we also went over divorce, and I sort of went over what it's like to have a friend that went through like that. So if by any chance, if you're in a situation where you're not necessarily in the same steps as Tony, but just sort of a side viewer, just make sure you, like Marco said, to, is to, just be there to let them know, okay, well, if you don't want to talk about it, it's fine. I'll be there for you, and at least pay attention, because, if, your friend comes with a black eye, then okay, maybe I should do some more, but just make sure you want to check with them and just be there for them.
Yeah, keeping a safe distance, but not too distant.
Right,
I get
exactly. But that's pretty much it.
Always, yeah. If there's any questions that come up, of course, right now we only got like 15 people watching, but soon to be millions. Soon to be millions. So, of course, contact us, contact someone.
Right.
Get some help if you need it. All right. So I had a couple things I also wrote down in regards to if I were to go back and talk to me, almost. And, talking to me back then would not be an easy thing for anyone. No one, except for, well, obviously Calvin. I need those papers. So I'm not sure how exactly I would have done it, but I came up with something along the lines of, if you find yourself where the people people who are responsible for your well-being, your parents, your legal guardians, your teachers, or whomever, if you find them coming short, if you find them failing at what they're supposed to do, don't let that stop you. Don't fail yourself. That's the main point, is once you begin to give up, and there are appropriate times to give up, but the most important thing is to not fail yourself and take those hardships, take those, if you have what people would call a disability, if you have a lack of supplies, which would be authority figures, would be mentors. You can, with today's technology especially, you can go out and find books. You can go out and find any video on YouTube, ways to overcome whatever it is. And once you begin that journey, you'll find the right way to do things. And the right things will happen eventually. I promise you. The right things will eventually happen the right way one day if you continue on the Voyagers path. Look at that. Look at it. Tied that in. So, kind of like what you hear from Spider-Man, that great quote, great power comes great responsibility. Well, if you don't have the capability of wielding that power, if you don't have any experience with responsibility, if you aren't responsible, you will have no power ever. And you'll be powerless to anyone who comes your way. So starting that journey of responsibility, it begins when you wake up. It begins with looking in the mirror and seeing what you've done wrong, how you can make amends for it, how you can grow from it, how you can develop as an individual. And that's, I think that's all I'm gonna stop there. So, yes, with all that said, I'm going to say the end mantra. Is it a mantra? I think you might be able to call it a mantra. Who knows? Moment's gone. Anyway, here we go. To future and health, good fortune and wealth, to discipline and sacrifice, to lessons that last for life, to live for honor and for glory, death will come, be extraordinary. And thank you very much for listening, folks at home.
Thanks, guys.
Or watching, whichever. And I hope you have a nice day. Fare thee well, and next Tuesday, we will have an episode out. We'll be recording next Tuesday. We'll have an episode out next Friday.
Yep.
And that is that.
All right.
Thank
you so much for coming over.
Yeah.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Anytime y'all need some entertainment and you need me to come back.
And we'll definitely have to have you on again, like I said, in the future. But
Marco says I'm not funny, but I disagree.
Yeah.
So.
Thanks again, Mom.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah.